So our story continues with an ultra ego Vegeta powering up ferociously, having just witnessed firsthand the defeat and apparent death of his father from the alternate timeline, triggering a deep-seated rage and a latent memory from his own father's death at the hands of Frieza. And as his aura would flux monstrously, ironically, as he would scream, the yells of an Uzaru would begin to be heard also. Father! And in this enraged state, as Vegeta would primarily just call for the king, in his mind, a memory from the past would be uncovered from the deepest recesses of his mind. A memory from many decades ago, with him as a mere child watching over space, with his father by his side. That damn Frieza! He treats us like mere dogs. If only he knew what we had planned for him. I'll make him pay. Mark my words, son. The Saiyans will come out on top in the end. As when we would delve into this scene from the past, a grumbling King Vegeta would moan about his current position as Frieza's slave, while the young Vegeta, seemingly unbothered, would just continue to munch on an apple. Vegeta! Are you listening? Annoying the king momentarily, as he would begin to wonder if his own son was even taking in his words. Continuing, Boy, listen to me. Do you even know who you are? Do you really know what you are? Tell me. I need to hear this from you myself. But the bratty young prince, still with his mouth full, would just spurt out, I don't know, father. A prince? A Saiyan elite? Whatever title you want to call me. I'll be anything you want, as long as you let me go back to training with Nappa. This stargazing is starting to bore me to no end. Why you? But such a nonchalant, entitled response would be far from what the king expected, and almost instantly, King Vegeta would see red before... You fool! Suddenly, without warning, the angered father would blast out the tip of his finger, a beam of concentrated yellow energy. What? As soon, the target of said beam would become all too clear, immediately disintegrating the prince's half-eaten apple right within his hand, as the young Saiyan would flinch instantly. Father! What did I do this time? Leaving the confused and scared to the bone Vegeta to now attempt to run away, his body sweating as if he'd become all too aware of what kind of brutal punishments his father could dish out. Get over here, you punk! But in a flash, the prince would soon learn escape was futile, as the king, still furious, would not hit his son, but instead grab him by the scruff of his armor and lift him to eye level, shouting, I asked what you are, and you are all those things, but not just that! You are Prince Vegeta the Fourth, the Saiyan born with the strongest power level of any that came before you. The Saiyan of legend, the one that will lead our people to rule the universe! I am? Causing the still shaking in fear prince to respond in puzzlement. But now taking a more controlled and lowered tone, the king would then continue. Yes, son! You are as I say! You stand at the top of all of us! At the top of the most feared warrior race in all of existence! A race whose power and strength is untapped! Unlimited even! Power that even Frieza fears deep inside! The legend of the Super Saiyan! That is only the beginning of what we are capable of! What you are capable of! I, nor any of the other Saiyans on our planet, have scratched the surface of what we as a people can do. None of us have reached our potential. But you are different. Already at your young age, you surpass even the best of the elites. You are not meant to bow down to the gods, to bow down to Frieza. You will find a way out, my son. You alone will find the true power of the Saiyans within you and become unrivaled to all. Remember your father told you this. Always. As behind the king, the smirking images of his two slave drivers, Emperor Frieza and Lord Beerus, would be seen. I remember now, father! As back in the present, Vegeta would begin undergoing an alarming transformation. His eyes suddenly now turning completely red, but not like a demon, but like an Uzaru. As he would bend his torso back, powering up even more. Not only, though, would his hair grow wildly and more uncouth, but on his entire body, reaching up to his chin, a brown fur would grow all over. And finally, though his face would remain clean, his skin tone would begin to darken rapidly, as if burning under the sun as we spoke. And with what is undeniably an Uzaru roar screaming from Vegeta's lungs, one final all-important element of his Saiyan transformation would then take place. As from the backside of Vegeta, something furry would sprout, before unleashing into a fully grown tail, forced out through sheer willpower alone. Finally, Prince Vegeta had returned to his original Saiyan roots.
Is this what you meant, father?
As full of unbridled exhilaration now from his overflowing Saiyan power, Ultra Uzaru Vegeta is born. His grin wider than ever before, with visibly sharp teeth, as the ground and planet beneath him can hardly even maintain itself within his overpowered presence. Vegeta! As even the playing dead King Vegeta on the ground, with one eye open, would be completely surprised by the transformation he would witness, as he would comment, "That form! Vegito never showed me that! Son, what power have you unlocked? No! This creature has to be stopped! As with the Demon King, fear would now drop all over his face. I will stop this madness now! You may not lay another hand on my son! As immediately, as if by instinct, in a fight or flight situation, the Demon King would choose to concentrate all of his energy into a radiant ball of demonic energy. Father! What are you doing? Puzzling the young emperor, who still sees no threat despite Vegeta's change. But ultimately, feeling as if he was only doing his fatherly duties to protect himself and his son, the Demon King would then launch his attack regardless. And as the powerful ball of energy would approach the tailed Saiyan, even as it would become point blank with his face, the primal Vegeta would not budge at all. Ultimately resulting in a terrifying explosion of darkness that stops all further aura and energy emanating from Vegeta. Both! I defeated both of them! Leaving the Demon King now with what can only be assumed is a false sense of security, having now thought that he dealt with both the Royal Saiyans after his direct hit. And indeed, it would seem that so, as in place of Vegeta, all we would see is just thick smoke rising, without any trace of any survivor. That is, until in an instant, as if a light had been switched on, the piercing red Uzaru eyes of Vegeta would just be seen shining through, unblinking and unfazed. What? How could he survive that? Leaving the overconfident king gobsmacked at what he was seeing. But unfortunately, it would only be the beginning of his tumultuous shocks for the day. As suddenly as he would look down, it would seem his whole world would become a blur, as his body in an instant would be shaken to the very core, vibrated at such an intensity as if struck by a sniper. As once we would peer down and get the full view, deep in the solar plexus of the Demon King, Ultra Uzaru Vegeta's fist would be buried, almost as having pierced through his skin, while the Royal Demon could do nothing but just stare down, paralyzed. Doesn't feel so good when it happens to you, does it, demon? But the cocky Vegeta, knowing the king's end is here, will just give the demon one final grin before... In his free left arm, he would summon an energy blade, while simultaneously beginning to push the king backwards. Die! Until in a flash, too fast for any normal eye to even react, taking out all of his rage, the prince would violently slice right through the body of the king, as if he were not even there. A mass of blood gushing out instantly, as finally the demon would let out an agonizing groan. Father! As watching on, as suddenly, an electric aura would be triggered to burst out of him, as if linked directly to his emotion. Taiza's entire demeanor would drop. For the first time, facing the reality of his people's death, his own father, at the hands of a mere flesh pile.
Taiza! Save me!
While his now well and truly helpless father would begin separating in half, in a bloody mess, clean cut, as if from a master butcher. And curiously, the only thing that would remain intact, flying out, would be the lone still beating heart. I'll be taking that! As inexplicably, almost replicating Vegito, the prince, as if on purpose, would immediately grab the heart that remained full, clenching tightly, but not enough to make it burst before... What? In a shocking scene, Vegeta, in this primal Uzaru state, harking back to his childhood days with his apple, would then chomp directly into the raw demon heart, splattering its blood and insides all over as he chews with his mouth open, staring right into the eyes of the king's son, just letting out with his mouth still full.
Interesting. So this is what a weakling tastes like.
You! What have you done? What are you? As now, with such a triggering, blatant disrespect happening right before his eyes, the severity of the situation would finally hit Taiza. His father, now dead, and his body being desecrated by a grinning beast. In sheer disbelief, the Emperor's rage would build until... I'll kill you! With a truly blood-curdling scream unmatched through the universe, one which would burst your eardrums wide open, the fury and pain of the young demon emperor would finally unleash. With nothing to hold him back now, no father, and nobody to talk him out of it, the mysterious monster, once within the child, would begin to surface finally, as it yells in tandem from behind. And as his roar would continue on, so too would his enormous aura continue to grow, reaching an almost comical size, as if a rocket were shooting right from the planet's surface. And though, from afar, looking from his backside, Vegeta would seem like he was covering his face from the wind generated. In reality, all the primal Saiyan would be doing would be continuing to eat whole Taiza's father's heart, keen to seem as unbothered as possible. Father! And even in the rage of his power, this would not go unnoticed by the Emperor, his eyes confused with sadness and hatred, with only tears of blood now beginning to fall as he grinds his teeth harder and harder, until the point he too begins to undergo a change. And as his voice would go undeniably deeper, resembling Lucif's, the young Emperor's entire body would begin to stretch and grow, taller and taller. As soon, his armor too would begin to change, from head to toe, gaining spikes all over. While his eyes would then make the final change, becoming beastly in their redness, even unlocking a third eye within his forehead. Until finally, the true ugly form of the youngest demon emperor in history, Tizer, would be unleashed. His clothes utterly ripped from his sudden growth in size and muscularity. And with deep breaths, even he would be exhausted from the ferocity of his power. But nonetheless, with his first words, he would let out,
"For you, Father, I will hand deliver this soul to Lucif in your honor. Just forgive me for taking my time with it." "Lucif, by all means do that. It would save me the hassle of trying to find that clown myself."
But standing with his arms folded, still gripping onto the half-eaten remains of the Demon King, the Prince would continue to just talk with confidence, saying,
"Am I supposed to be scared right now? All you did was get fatter. You remind me a little of your father, in fact, now. You keep his name out of your mouth!"
Of course aggravating the now much older-looking Emperor. But in response, Vegeta, squeezing his hand to burst what remains of the heart, would just say back,
"Out of my mouth? Bit late for that, don't you think? By the way, he tasted disgusting. Let's hope you're more satisfying." You!
This final comment being what breaks the camel's back. The final straw is not even in this new form would the Emperor be able to maintain his emotions anymore. As yelling with rage, instantly, Tizer would then fly head-on straight for Vegeta. His mouth agape, as all he aims to do is gain divine retribution in the most brutal of ways.
"Attaboy! Come to your new papa!"
As goading without a hint of remorse or empathy, Ultra Uzaru Vegeta would just welcome the increasing rage and anger, hoping most likely internally that this would somehow give him a greater challenge. But even with the sudden launch giving it his all, it wouldn't take much for a giggling Vegeta to move straight out of the telegraph move's way. But even while moving back, the Prince would find a way to counter harm, slamming his right leg into the cheek of Tizer mid-air as he would continue to fly down. But the Emperor would not just take this laying down, immediately bringing his arms around to clamp onto the Prince's leg, saying,
"That smile will disappear once I take your soul!
before tossing the primal Saiyan straight down to a shallow grave, leaving Vegeta seemingly to crash land for a planet-shaking quake. As Tizer would then continue,
I will avenge you, Father! I finally understand all that you taught me! All that he taught you? Didn't he just tell you not to underestimate us mortals? What?
But as Tizer's confidence in his new power would build momentarily, Vegeta would appear devilishly from behind to tumble it all back down to reality. Slamming yet another kick right onto the vulnerable backside of the none the wiser Demon Emperor, resulting in a less than flattering slam on the ground of himself this time, face first.
Enough!
But only moments later would Tizer's eyes burst open in frustration, his third eye suddenly now emitting a bright light in all directions before... Back with Vegeta in the air, everything would change.
What did that kid just do? Where the hell am I?
As Vegeta now, for some reason hidden in darkness, would look around, as if he had just been teleported somewhere else.
Damn demon!
As unbelievably, once we would peer through the eyes of Vegeta, where he would be now would be no yard rat. Instead, in a dark plane with what seems like an endless sea of the beastly demon eyes observing his every move. But it wouldn't be long. From out of nowhere, the eyes would converge into a giant, multi-eyed monster that would immediately be all over the prince, its huge mouth open, bearing ridiculously sharp teeth, ready to tear Vegeta to pieces.
How cute!
But in the face of the Uzaru Saiyan, this would be nothing at all. A giant grin on his face as he seemingly just waits for it to swallow him whole. As the prince would only comment,
"So, this is what it is. Something like that Madara did."
As of course, in the real world, out of the blatant illusion Vegeta was trapped in, he would appear, just motionless in the air, vulnerable.
Simple-minded flesh pile!
As Tizer below, now thinking he has finally trumped the Saiyan, would laugh uncontrollably, saying,
"The power of demons goes beyond just physical, mortal. You may die first in your mind, before you die on the..."
But even with Vegeta right in front of him, trapped in his own eye technique, still, Tizer would find himself uneasy before...
What?
As unbelievably bursting through his skull, and importantly, right through the third eye of the Demon Emperor, a gloved hand would penetrate outwards in a gruesome scene.
How did that happen?
And in the aftermath, The oversized Demon Emperor would just be left utterly perplexed. His third eye completely gone now, leaking blood all over his face. Yet his eyes and mouth would be wide open, still just wondering how an illusion resulted in physical damage to himself. Just what kind of unreal power has this mortal now achieved? But while he would wonder, Vegeta, now free, would land before him. And as Tizer would stand before him, now ironically, he himself beaten both mentally and physically, he would only mutter, Just what are you? Are you a higher god? As brutally finishing it all, Vegeta, postponing his answer, would nonchalantly slam a fist directly into the stomach of the Emperor, crumpling him immediately as he falls to his knees, and then ultimately flat onto his face, all without any further sound or groans, as Vegeta would then finally let out, No! I'm just a simple-minded flesh pile. Disrespectfully, then kicking the young Emperor to his backside, who has now returned back to his smaller self, before grabbing onto the demon's leg and lifting the teen-sized Emperor off the ground while simultaneously powering back down to base. Vegeta would just demand softly, Now, kiddo, before I send you where your father is, tell me more about what brings you here. I promise to make your end painless if you do. But just as the prince would demand this, a hand would grab onto his shoulder. Yes, tell us, child. As perhaps unsurprisingly to us, King Vegeta would then be revealed, still alive and with a proud smile as he looks to his all-powerful son. Meanwhile though, back on Earth on Kami's lookout, the tone would be completely different, as the rest of the Z-Fighters remain waiting for the two Saiyans. Tien, however, growing impatient, would soon question with his arms folded, Just how long are we going to spend up here, guys? We should be fighting, protecting our planet. What are we waiting for? Goku? Who knows how long that guy could be away for? We all know he isn't exactly the on-time type. But Gohan, looking down over the edge of the lookout, will just reply, You're right, Tien. We don't know when Dad will be back, but he said it wouldn't be long. Right now, we need to figure out what's even going on. Down there, we're not even needed. Those Saiyans are taking care of things. They're all Super Saiyans. Those demons don't even stand a chance. I can't sense a single one of them having any trouble. But Tien, growing annoyed now, would be quick to reply, That's what worries me, Gohan. The fact an army of unchecked Saiyans are down there gives me all the more reason to go help. The last time we had Saiyans invade, it didn't exactly end well. Goku and Vegeta are one thing, but I don't trust these guys, and neither should you. Steady on, Three Eyes. But a laughing with his arms folded Bardock would then be quick to interrupt, explaining, Look,
I don't know what you went through with my people in your timeline, but in ours, once Frieza was destroyed by Vegito, we dedicated our lives to saving planets and maintaining the order of the universe. A planet of Super Saiyans is not something to play with, and with that great power came great responsibility. You haven't got a thing to worry about, especially with me here to keep them in line.
But as the trio would squabble, 2 pairs of familiar feet would finally set foot on Kami's lookout again. Dad! You're back! And the first to react would of course be the young Goten, utterly elated to finally see his father's return. Sorry for the wait, guys! I promise, I had a good reason. As Goku and Piccolo, now finally back on Earth, would then address the others. But not long after, the cheerful face of the Saiyan would then switch to one far more serious, as he would say, "But time is running out, guys. There's a lot I just found out. Gather round. I need you all to hear this." And so after some time, Goku would be finished explaining what he had learned on Vampa, the Demon Emperor Kaida, and the plan of Lucif. Finishing, and so that's where we're at right now. That's the whole story. The Earth is a priority, but it's the whole universe, and even the other 11 that we need to be spread out for too. Our strongest need to be protecting everywhere, not just here. But Gohan, after hearing this, would just look down at the ground reflecting, I can't believe that, Dad. What kind of person would do this? What kind of evil would hope for the destruction of so many? As Dende would add, Lucif isn't a person, Gohan. He truly is all the evil in the realm combined. I wouldn't expect any less. But as for trying to defy him, I can see how we could save a handful of planets, but there must be at least a few hundred planets in this universe that contain life with power worth siphoning, and thousands more in the other universes. How do you think we could handle that, Goku? And to that end, Goku would just lift up his right hand saying, "With this, Dende, we can't forget the gift Whis left us from the very beginning." As instantly, Whis' angel staff would then appear in Goku's vicinity, immediately grabbed by Goku, as with a smile, he would let out, "With this, we'll all be able to go all over. We'll be able to stop Lucif's plan once and for all." As Goku would then go on to explain, "As for how we'll cover as many planets as possible, I might be overestimating myself, but Piccolo's seen for himself. I have enough power to split myself at least 1,000 times. I'll use Tien's multiform technique for that. I've seen how strong a Demon Emperor can be, but there can't be an endless amount of those guys. From what Piccolo told me, he fought a Demon King, who seems way less scary. Even with my power split, I should be able to deal with them. If I ever do run into an Emperor, I'll call one of you guys for backup. Or just lower the amount of multiforms. I'll find a way. Vegeta could easily do the same too. It's just, he doesn't know the multiform technique."
That's right! I know something far better, clown!
As in that instant, the Prince and the King would finally make their re-entrance also, surprising Goku and the Z-Fighters before the topless Saiyan would explain,
I know how to create clones already. It's a staple technique of the Yardratians, along with gigantification. Don't forget, Kakarot, I didn't learn just instant transmission like you. I actually took time to learn more about their so-called spirit control.
Awesome! So my plan could work. As with an enthused smile and his arm lifted in victory, things would finally begin to look good for Goku and Universe 7. That is, until something unsavory would soon be sensed entering Earth's lands. As when the scene would shift to the relatively peaceful mountains of Earth, where seemingly the demons have been dealt with in the area.
Who's that?
The Saiyans below would soon be faced with a mystery figure entering from a dark portal.
Another demon! Get him!
Instantly triggering the warriors to rush at the figure, united in their singular goal to protect Earth on King Vegeta's orders. But as we would finally get our first glimpse of this mystery demon, who looks far more humanoid than seen previously, all he would utter is, die. And unbelievably in that instant, on command, all 4 heads of the Super Saiyans chasing him would explode violently on the spot, immediately dropping to the ground like lead bricks right before his feet, as all the demon would muster to say back would be, good.
What?
As in the very next moment, sensing what had just taken place, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo and the rest of the Z-Fighters would be left stunned motionless at the sudden loss of life.
Damn it!
But Goku, who at this point had become so used to the atrocities, would grip the Angel Staff tightly and grumble, I forgot! There hasn't even been a Demon King or Emperor here on Earth yet. We'll need to deal with them first. It's just wasting our time.
Don't worry, kid. We got this.
As suddenly, in that moment, a mystery voice would call out from nearby.
Right, Gohan!
As shockingly, finally offering his strength to the battlefield again, Bardock, holding onto his grandson with a smile, would be the Z-Warrior to next challenge, Demon Royalty. But as Gohan would look at him with confusion, the question would be, would these two even be enough? But the next episode is available to be watched right now, right here on YouTube, on this channel. Just become a member, slap some pocket change on it, and watch another 40-minute episode drawn in this insane art style and quality. Yes, this shading, these lines, this detail again. Go and treat yourself now. Enjoy.